You are listening to 2BBB Community Radio Bellingen, and today I've travelled up the mountain to the Dorrigo Dramatic Club. This club has been running continuously since 1955. They've always had a production on. And I'm meeting with director Lynn Burke and the cast and crew, who are putting on a play by Brian Clark written in the 1970s called Whose Life Is It Anyway? Set in a hospital room, this play is about a young sculptor who was paralysed from the neck down in a car accident and is determined to be allowed to die. Director Lynn Burke.
I guess the theme is personal dignity and choice, confronting, all drama good needs tension. It confronts institutional and professional responsibility. The two are in conflict. It's an ambiguous situation because one wants to do one sort of thing, it wants to keep life going at all costs, and the other says, I want to have control of my life. And that's the dilemma that our poor Ken Harrison, who is the quadriplegic, has to face.
We seem to be out of the woods now, Mr. Harrison.
So, when are you going to discharge me?
You'll certainly be leaving us soon, I should think.
Discharged or transferred?
This unit is for critical patients. Once we've reached a position of stability, then you can be looked after in a much more comfortable, quiet hospital.
You mean you only grow the vegetables here? The vegetable store is somewhere else?
Suddenly he has no worthwhile future in his eyes, and so he has to confront the situation where the doctor, who really does care to keep him alive and wants to, insists on him staying alive and tells him that he's depressed, and that's why he's not ready to, he can't take his life in his own hands.
He says he wants to die.
Oh, many patients say that.
I know that, sister, but he means it. It is just a calm, rational decision.
I thought this morning when he was talking about the compensation, he was beginning to make plans for the future.
No.
The idea of suicide, the idea of choice, the idea of freedom, there's so many different issues that come up. And the rest of the cast are supporting players to make that message very clear in many different ways.
I've every confidence that the law is not such an ass that it would force me to watch while a patient of mine dies unnecessarily.
And we are just as confident that the law is not such an ass that it would hand anybody arbitrary powers.
My power isn't arbitrary. I've earned it from knowledge and skill. And it's subject to the laws of nature.
And the laws of the state.
Now, actors are fragile beings, aren't they, Lynn? Have you
Prima donnas, you mean?
Have you ever had any tears on stage so far in rehearsals?
No. I'm astonished. I have worked as an actor for many years, and I have seen quite a few meltdowns and interesting carries on, and this has been unbelievably smooth. The people have been so keen, so helpful, constantly helping each other, always willing to go along with it, with whatever I try, which sometimes isn't a good idea, but they endeavour to go. There's 13 in the cast, and I'm just so pleased with them, and I think the performance reflects that joie de vivre that they've all got, with the performance and with each other.
Okay, I'm huddled on stage with the cast and crew of the production, and you all seem like a pretty cohesive and wild bunch. Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
Not at all.
No comment. Well, it's actually one of, usually in a production that I've been involved in a lot now, and you tend to often get one or two casts that don't quite gel or whatever, but this group of people have gelled so easily, and it's a really, really nice bunch of people. We all get on really well.
Oh, yeah. That's what you think.
Psychiatrists always.
The knives are out.
I had to say that.
So what draws you as individuals to drama, to perform in front of people?
Well, I went to dinner one night round at the director's place and he said, "What are you doing in July?" So here I am.
Anyone else?
Well, I had a rush of blood to the head also at that same dinner with the director, and he asked me if I'd like to take a part, and I said, well, yes, I'll give it a try. And you'd be interested to know that it's 55 years since I've stood on the stage. So.
And how many red wines did that take for you to say yes?
About 3 bottles.
Yeah. And what about you, sir? Why have you decided to take a part?
I can blame Dina, but for me it's a way of relaxation. It's just completely away from real life in here.
Yeah.
And it's like opening the batting at cricket. The world could blow up, but you're just looking at that red ball. Nothing else matters.
So how have you found the process from the first reading to now? How's it been?
Really good. Yeah, very collaborative. Extremely collaborative. From the building of the sets, people have just brainstormed ideas, workshopped ideas. I've got that, someone's got that, we can do this. When you're in character, just people giving you suggestions, and certainly our director, Mr. Lynn Burke, has been amazing and has brought what I think is a fantastic cast together, and certainly made a play which I think everybody should come to because it's very topical.
Still relevant.
The problem is he's got himself a solicitor, and if I am to keep him here, I'll have to admit him compulsorily under the Mental Health Act. I was wondering if you could see him.
I'll see him, of course, but my signature won't help you.
Why not? You are the psychiatrist, aren't you?
Yes, but under the Act, you need 2 signatures, and only one of those can come from the hospital where the patient is to be kept.
Bloody hell.
Not to worry. I take it you see this as an emergency.
Of course I do.
Well, sign the application, and you've got 3 days to get another signature.
There should be no problem with that, surely.
Well, depends on whether he's clinically depressed or not.
You haven't understood. He's suicidal. He's determined to kill himself.
I could name you a number of psychiatrists who wouldn't take that as evidence of insanity.
Well, I could name you a number of psychiatrists who are evidence of insanity. I like to be involved in the theatre because it helps my mental health. And the play's about mental health. When you're acting, you take on a totally different role. You step out of yourself. You step into someone else. And I think that's a very healthy thing to do. And when you do that, when you take that step, you have to reassess values, your own values, because yours mightn't be the values of the character you're playing. And this play asks the audience to question their values, medical, moral, legal. It does it hard-hittingly, but the playwright is clever enough to interlace that with humorous relief. And everyone should come and see it for their own health's sake. That's Dr. Emerson.
Thanks for the diagnosis there, Doctor.
Full-on diagnosis.
Mr. Harrison?
That's right.
Dr. Travers?
Are you a psychiatrist?
Yes.
For or against me? Or does that sound like paranoia?
Well, you'd hardly expect me to make an instant diagnosis.
Did Dr. Emerson send you?
I work here at the hospital.
Ah.
Would you describe yourself as suffering from paranoia?
Nope.
What would you say paranoia was?
Difficult. Depends on the person. A man whose feelings of security are tied to his own sense of what is right and can brook no denial. If he were, say, a sculptor, we would describe his mental condition as paranoia. If, on the other hand, he was a doctor, we would describe it as professionalism.
To me, this play explores so many avenues of the question. Can the person who's incapacitated but has a good brain, is he allowed to make the decision for himself about his life? And we explore so many avenues, from the doctors, from the patient's story, and also from the law.
The state is intervening more in our lives in many ways, even though they tell us that we have a lot of individual freedom, but perhaps we don't.
This is a really important subject, and for me, at my sort of advanced years, if you can put it delicately like that, it's something that one thinks about, and I would like to think that if the time came, I would have the choice.
The court has heard evidence that Mr. Harrison is depressed. Would you dispute that?
No, but depression is not necessarily an illness. I would say Mr. Harrison's depression is reactive rather than endogenous. That's to say he's reacting in a perfectly rational way to a very bad situation.
How do you think your audience will react to this play?
It's really hard to know, because many years ago now, I was in a play about suicide. I was the mother, and my daughter committed suicide in the play. It was a play called Night Mother, performed here at Dorrigo. And I still have some people come along and tell me that that was the best play that they ever saw. It was the most memorable. At the same time, we had people leaving the theatre in tears because it touched them. And this is another play, potentially could be just as important to people to see. It's entertaining, so you can come along and see it just purely for the entertainment value. It's also got that deeper level if people want to hear about it and talk about it.
It's just a brilliant play. It's so well written, and there's so many levels to it and so many different angles to it. Whether you have the right to take your own life when things look hopeless, there's so many different issues that come up, and I think they're issues that all of us face at one way or another, either personally or with people we know, and we have to think, what would we do in that situation?